Tonight, we're diving deep into why the original Pokémon anime was better than you remember. But before we begin our journey into Pokémon lore, I want to take a moment to welcome you, whether this is your first night here or you've made stellar sleep part of your nightly routine. For those of you who've been joining us consistently, I want to thank you for being such an integral part of our channel. Be sure to share this video with someone you know who loves Pokémon. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment day 1. I'll be tracking our progress right alongside you. Now let's get back to the video. Close your eyes for a moment and travel back to the late 90s. It is a Tuesday afternoon, and the world feels impossibly large, yet perfectly contained within the glowing glass of a heavy tube television. You can hear the faint hum of the screen before the picture even appears. Then it happens. A jagged bolt of yellow lightning flashes across the screen, accompanied by a driving rock anthem that promised us we could be the very best, like no one ever was. For many of us, that was the beginning of a lifelong obsession. But as the decades have passed and the Pokémon franchise has grown into a multi-billion-dollar titan of industry, with over 1,000 creatures and endless flashy gimmicks, the original series has often been relegated to the shelf of simple nostalgia. We remember it as a charming, slightly clunky relic of our childhoods, a show about a boy and his electric mouse. But what if I told you that the original series, encompassing the Indigo League, the Orange Islands, and the sprawling journey through Johto, was actually far deeper, darker, and more atmospheric than your memory suggests? What if the foundation of this world was built on a sense of mystery, an ancient lore that the modern iterations have traded for high-stakes action? Tonight, we are going to peel back the layers of the Kanto and Johto eras. We're going to look past the bright colours and the catchy theme songs to find the soul of a world that felt lived in, ancient, and often wonderfully strange. This is not just a trip down memory lane. This is an exploration of why those first 5 years of the anime captured lightning in a bottle in a way that has never truly been replicated. We are diving into the quiet moments, the forgotten myths, and the subtle world building that turned a simple game adaptation into a cultural phenomenon. From the misty forests of Celebi to the lonely, psychic-induced nightmares of Saffron City, and from the ethics of cloning a mythical ancestor to the simple, profound bond between a boy and a Pokémon who refused to stay in his ball, we are revisiting a masterpiece of world building. The original anime premiered on April 1st, 1997 in Japan, and it arrived with a specific kind of magic. At that time, we didn't have the internet to spoil every secret. We didn't have a Pokédex in our pockets to tell us exactly where every creature came from. When Ash Ketchum stepped out of Pallet Town, he was stepping into a wilderness that felt genuinely dangerous and full of secrets. There was a weight to the world then. Think back to the very first episode. Before the badges, before the leagues, and before the hundreds of friends Ash would eventually make, there was just a storm, a flock of angry Spearow, and a legendary bird of gold flying over a rainbow. That moment wasn't just a plot point, it was a promise. It was a promise that this world was bigger than any one trainer, and that there were things moving in the clouds and beneath the waves that humans might never fully understand. The stakes of the original series weren't always about saving the world from a cosmic collapse or a legendary god of space and time. Instead, the stakes were personal. They were about a boy who overslept and ended up with a partner who genuinely disliked him. They were about the struggle to prove yourself in a world that didn't owe you anything. The original series had a grit to it that we often forget. It dealt with abandonment, with the loneliness of the road, and with the idea that being a Pokémon master wasn't just about winning battles, but about understanding the soul of another living being. There was a haunting quality to the early lore. We saw giant, ancient Pokémon covered in tattoos emerging from lost cities. We saw the tragic, philosophical birth of Mewtwo, a creature born of science and sorrow, questioning the very nature of his existence. These weren't just Saturday morning cartoon tropes. They were deep, resonant themes that stayed with us long after the credits rolled. As we settle into this journey through the Kanto, Orange Islands, and Johto regions, I want you to let the familiar sounds of the tall grass and the healing chime of a Pokémon Center wash over you. We are going to look at the timeline of this world, stretching back thousands of years to the prehistoric era when Aerodactyl ruled the skies and giant primeval versions of Alakazam and Gengar fought for dominance. We will explore the quiet beauty of the Johto region, where tradition and myth are woven into the very fabric of the architecture, and where the legend of the Tin Tower and the Brass Tower tells a story of tragedy, rebirth, and the fickle nature of legendary guardians. Why does the original series still hold such a powerful grip on our collective consciousness? Is it just because we were young, or is there something fundamentally different about the way those early stories were told? We will examine the evolution of Ash Ketchum, not as the invincible champion he eventually became, but as the flawed, impulsive, and deeply empathetic child who learned that sometimes the greatest victory is letting a friend go. We will revisit the comedic tragedy of Team Rocket, characters who provided the heartbeat of the show through their persistence in the face of constant failure. And we will look at the Pokémon themselves, back when they felt like animals and spirits, rather than just collectible data points. The mystery of the GS Ball, the hidden secrets of the Orange Archipelago, and the transition from the industrial rugged landscape of Kanto to the elegant, folklore-heavy world of Johto all contribute to a narrative tapestry that is incredibly rich. It is a world where a lighthouse can be haunted by a giant, lonely dragonite, and where a forest can be protected by a time-travelling forest spirit. This is the lore that built our childhoods, and tonight, it serves as the perfect backdrop for a deep, restful dive into the past. So adjust your blankets, find a comfortable position, and prepare to return to Pallet Town. The road ahead is long, the grass is tall, and the mysteries of the Pokémon world are waiting to be rediscovered. We're going back to a time when every rustle in the bushes meant a new discovery, and when the bond between a trainer and their Pokémon was the most powerful force in the universe. Let's begin our journey through the original era, a time that was truly better, deeper, and more magical than you remember. On April 1st, 1997, as cherry blossoms began to unfurl across Tokyo's neon-lit streets, a single episode flickered onto screens in the dead of night, marking the midnight premiere of Pokémon on TV Tokyo. Japan, still reeling from the economic bubble's collapse 7 years earlier, pulsed with a restless energy. Unemployment lingered like morning fog over the Sumida River. Young salarymen crammed into bullet trains dreamed of escape, and in arcades from Shibuya to Akihabara, kids clutched Game Boys, fingers numb from endless battles in the pocket-sized worlds of red and green versions, released just over a year before. Tamagotchi pets beeped desperately in school bags, demanding care amid crammed school pressures, while the airwaves buzzed with the raw edge of J-pop idols and the serialized grit of Evangelion reruns. Yet into this mix slipped something deceptively simple, a boy's quest with creatures that felt alive, partners rather than tools. That premiere wasn't just another anime slot on Thursday evenings through the TX network. It ignited a spark that would engulf the globe, turning Pokémon from a modest Game Freak title, 275,000 copies sold in its first year, into a phenomenon worth billions. By summer, merchandise flooded Konbini shelves, plush Pikachu dangling from keychains, trading cards swapped in playground dust-ups, and manga volumes stacking high in Tsutaya stores. Internationally, it wouldn't hit until the next year, but in Japan, word spread like wildfire through all Nippon News Network syndication. Families gathered around cathode ray tubes, mesmerized by the opening strains of that electric guitar riff, the silhouette of a yellow mouse crackling with defiance. This was no fleeting fad. It redefined childhood, bridging the analog-digital divide, and planted seeds for a franchise that would spawn movies, cards, and endless sequels, all rooted in that humid spring night. At the heart of it all stood Ash Ketchum, or Satoshi in the original Japanese, rushing out of Pallet Town with a backpack slung haphazardly over his shoulder, his new Pikachu perched like a reluctant king on his cap. But rewind to the very first moments. Ash oversleeps. The clock ticks past dawn on his 10th birthday, the one day every kid in the Kanto region awaits to claim their starter from Professor Oak's lab. Bells chime unheard in his attic bedroom, posters of legendary trainers peeling at the edges, while downstairs his mother Delia frets over a breakfast gone cold. He bolts awake in a panic, hair wilder than a startled Eevee, tumbling down Route 1 without a Pokeball in sight. This isn't the polished hero's launch of classic shonen tales, where prodigies awaken primed for glory. No, Ash arrives late, dishevelled, the last kid standing, handed a Pikachu that's already sparking with contempt. That oversleeping trope, so casually dropped in Episode 1's opening minutes, reshapes everything. In the world of Pokémon games, you pick your loyal Charmander or Squirtle at the appointed hour, obedience baked in from the start. But here, the anime flips the script. Professor Oak, with his gentle exasperation and lab coat dusted in fossil remnants, offers Ash the yellow electric mouse no one else wanted, the one that zapped the previous trainers. Pikachu emerges from the ball, not as a servant, but a wild card, ears flattened, cheeks bulging with thunderbolts. The first shock sends Ash sprawling into the grass, Pikachu scampering ahead, utterly uninterested in this bumbling human. They clash immediately. Pikachu ignores commands during a Pidgey skirmish, forcing Ash to earn its trust through a shared rain-soaked sprint from a Spearow flock. Only then, as lightning cracks the sky and Pikachu curls exhausted in Ash's arms, does the bond flicker to life. This disobedience wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate stroke by director Masamitsu Hidaka and the OLM team, diverging sharply from Satoshi Tajiri's game vision. Shonen anime up to that point leaned on reliable power fantasies. Think Goku's instant mastery in Dragon Ball or the obedient summons in Yu Yu Hakusho. Protagonists commanded respect from the outset, their partners extensions of willpower. Pikachu's rebellion injected raw tension, turning every early battle into a negotiation. Ash shouts, "Pikachu, Thundershock," only to watch it yawn and nap on his shoulder. Viewers held their breath. Would this partnership fracture? It mirrored real friendships, messy, earned through mishaps like the Viridian City gym farce, or the Electric Showdown with Team Rocket's debut balloon crash. Pikachu's sass, those cheek puffs inflating before a zap, became the emotional core, emphasizing themes of mutual growth over domination. By making Pikachu disobedient, the creators rewired shonen DNA itself, no longer just about collecting badges or leveling up. It became a meditation on consent and camaraderie. Ash doesn't tame Pikachu, he woos it. This reluctant duo set the template for future anime leads. Naruto's fox spirit snarls back, Luffy's crew questions orders, even modern rivals like Go in later series echo that initial standoff. In 1997 Japan, amid rigid school hierarchies and collectivist pressures, it whispered rebellion. True strength blooms from equals, not hierarchies. Pikachu's evolution, or lack thereof, cemented it. No Raichu form for the star. It stays small, spiky, eternally itself, shocking Ash awake time and again. That oversleeping sets Ash's entire hero's journey ablaze with underdog fire. Late starts breed legends in folklore, from sleepy apprentices in ancient tales to the delayed blooms of cherry trees, symbolizing perseverance. Ash arrives at Pewter Gym, not as a prodigy, but a kid who tripped over his own Rattata on the way. Brock's Onyx crushes expectations, yet Pikachu's wild quick attack turns the tide. Loyalty forged in the furnace of failure. Each badge chase amplifies this. the sleep-in echoes in Misty's bike destruction, Brock's tag-along domesticity, the endless detours through Viridian Forest's whispering shadows. It's the catalyst propelling Ash from Palette Nobody to Indigo Plateau, Contender, his perpetual lateness, a badge of authenticity in a world of scripted perfections. As the episode fades on that first triumphant Pokeball toss, Pikachu finally entering, if grudgingly, the screen hints at wildernesses untamed, ancient whispers buried in Kanto's primal lore, waiting to unfold. Stick around for Chapter 2, the primal lore of the Kanto wilderness, where forgotten ruins and cosmic origins pull you deeper into secrets that make those early adventures echo eternally. As Ash burst out of Professor Oak's lab that fateful April 1st in 1997, Pikachu crackling at his heels in defiant sparks, the path ahead twisted into Viridian Forest, a threshold not just to adventure, but to a cosmos-spanning saga etched into the very roots of the Pokémon world. This wilderness wasn't some backdrop for battles. It pulsed with a timeline that dwarfed human history, stretching back 4.6 billion years, a primordial clockwork revealed in the earliest whispers of the series' flavor text. Picture the dawn of it all, when the planet itself was a molten cradle, cooling under skies untouched by wings or thunder. 4.6 billion years ago, the lore hints at cosmic architects, beings of pure energy, perhaps the first Pokémon, shaping continents from chaos, their forms lost to geothermal fury. Fast forward through eons of cataclysm, 2 million years past, ice sheets gripped the land, and colossal beasts roamed, precursors to the Titans we'd later name Regirock or Articuno. Their silhouettes fossilized in flavor text from the original games that bled into the anime's undercurrents. These weren't idle Easter eggs. They framed Kanto as a living archive, where every rustle in the underbrush echoed extinctions and rebirths. Then the veil thins closer to our era, thousands of years ago, when warlords clashed with psychic leviathans, summoning Mewtwo's ancient kin from hidden labs of legend. 2,000 years prior, a great war scarred the skies, Mew scattering its essence across the genes of all Pokémon, a genetic Big Bang that the anime's first movie would claw back to life. 1,000 years back, Lugia's tempests reshaped coastlines. 500 years ago, Ho-Oh's flames purified corrupted lands. 400 years past, the Regi trio slumbered in stone tombs, guardians of forgotten tech. This cascade wasn't dumped in exposition. It simmered in Pokédex entries, game manuals, and those fleeting anime asides. Professor Oak's ramblings, elder trainers' tales, painting Kanto not as a starter zone, but a palimpsest of divine violence and renewal. Step into Viridian Forest with Ash, and you feel that weight settle like damp moss on your shoulders. The air hangs thick, laced with the hum of unseen wings, and the distant cry of a Pidgey piercing the canopy. In the original anime's art style, this wasn't rendered in crisp high-def glory. It was pixelated shadow play, low-res sprites bleeding into inky blackness that swallowed edges whole. Those silhouettes, a Kakuna dangling from branches like forgotten nooses, a Weedle vanishing into undergrowth, weren't laziness. They were deliberate sorcery. Shadows pooled unnaturally deep, suggesting eyes in the gloom, ancient watchers from the 4.6 billion year abyss. The colour palette muted to sickly greens and bruised purples, evoking not a playground, but a primal snare, where Caterpie spun silk veils over ruins of elder trees, roots delving into strata that remembered meteor falls. Wander deeper, and the forest breathes unease. Fog rolls in unbidden, muffling Pikachu's protests as Ash hacks through vines, his flashlight beam fracturing on webs that gleam like neural networks from prehistory. Original episodes lingered here, frames stretching the silence, letting shadows dance with suggestions of far-fetched ghosts or parasect husks shambling eternal. This wasn't filler, it weaponized absence, The unseen hoard a nod to those billion-year layers where Pokémon weren't cute collectibles, but evolutionary apexes forged in fire and void. Viridian embodied the eerie sublime, safety teetering on savagery, every rustle a reminder that Kanto's peace was probationary, built on bones of gods. And then, in Episode 1's Crimson Horizon, as Ash crests that first hill, with Pikachu's reluctant truce fresh won, a radiant arc shatters the dusk. Ho-Oh, the rainbow phoenix, soaring vast and silent, feathers trailing prismatic fire. No fanfare, no name drop, just a glimpse, gone in seconds, leaving Ash slack-jawed and viewers haunted. This wasn't a teaser, it was a lure into the unsolved. For years across 82 Indigo League episodes, Ho-Oh vanished into myth, resurfacing only in whispers from gym leaders or etched on bell tower scrolls in Johto journeys. Flavor text tied it to Purification's 400 years old, a rebirther of souls, yet the anime let the mystery fester, its silhouette blending with Viridian's shadows, like a promise of deeper enigmas. Fans dissected frames, theorized timelines. Was it blessing Ash's quest? Echoing the 4.6 billion year forge? The absence amplified the primal pull, turning a flyby into lore's slow-burning heart. Viridian Forest wasn't mere transit, it was Kanto's soul laid bare, shadows veiling a history that made Ash's badges feel trivial against eternity's grind. As the duo finally stumbles free, bruised and buzzing with first winds, the lights of Pewter City flicker ahead, home to a philosophy that would test not just Pikachu's sparks, but the very bond forged in that wilderness gloom. What unyielding lessons awaited in the Pewter City philosophy? As the shadows of Viridian Forest finally give way to the dusty outskirts of Pewter City, Ash stumbles into a world that feels both familiar and profoundly human. Episode 5 marks this pivot, where the wild, untamed edges of Kanto collide with the quiet grind of everyday life, and Brock steps into the frame, not as just another gym leader, but as the first real mirror held up to what Pokémon truly mean. Pewter Gym looms like a forgotten monument, its rock-solid walls etched with the scars of countless battles, the air thick with the scent of damp stone and polished boulders. Ash charges in, Pikachu sparking at his side, expecting the usual clash of trainers locked in a power struggle. But Brock doesn't greet him with a Pokémon at the ready. Instead, he's surrounded by a gaggle of wide-eyed kids, their clothes patched and faces smudged with the kind of dirt that speaks to long days without supervision. This isn't a gym, it's a home, makeshift and straining under the weight of too many little lives. Brock wipes sweat from his brow, ladle in hand, stirring a pot that bubbles over a makeshift fire, his onyx coiled protectively in the corner like a living pillar holding up the roof. Right there, in that single scene, the anime flips the script on everything we've seen so far. Up to this point, Pokémon have flickered in and out as tools for conquest. Pikachu's thunderbolts, zapping Pidgeotto from the sky, Caterpie evolving in a desperate bid for survival. They're extensions of a trainer's will, weapons sharpened in the forge of the wilderness. But Brock, he cradles a crying toddler on one arm, while commanding his Geodude with the other, his voice softening into something paternal, almost reverent. "Take care of them," he murmurs to his Pokémon after the battle, not as orders barked in the heat of combat, but as a shared responsibility, a family pact sealed in stone, and loyalty. It's the first whisper of Pokémon not as beasts to command, but as siblings, guardians, the glue stitching together fractured human lives. And then there's Flint. Brock's father doesn't just vanish into the ether like some absent myth. He slinks back into Pewter City under a veil of shame, his shoulders hunched, eyes darting like a man who's spent years chasing fool's gold in distant mines. The subplot unfolds in hushed tones amid the gym's chaos. Flint abandoned his post years ago, lured by dreams of training glory, leaving Brock to shoulder the burden of 9 younger siblings. No epic quests or legendary Pokémon pulled him away, just the raw ache of a man who couldn't hack the daily grind, the endless cycle of scraped knees and midnight fevers. When he returns, tail between his legs, offering to take over, Brock's rejection cuts deep, not with anger, but with the quiet steel of someone who's already built his world without him. "You've been gone too long," Brock says, voice steady as granite, while his siblings cling to his legs, torn between resentment and a child's desperate hope. This glimpse into broken families grounds early Kanto in a reality that feels startlingly adult, worlds away from the pixelated whimsy of the games. Pewter City isn't a badge checkpoint, it's a snapshot of rural decay, where gyms double as orphanages because parents chase horizons they never reach. The streets outside are lined with weathered homes, smoke curling from chimneys fed by scavenged wood, and trainers like Ash pass through oblivious to the undercurrents. The way Flint's failure echoes the quiet tragedies dotting the region, from fishermen lost to Viridian's depths to prospectors swallowed by Moon's caves. The anime lingers on these beats, letting the camera pan across Brock's weary smile as he tucks in his siblings, Onyx's tail gently rocking a cradle, painting a portrait of resilience forged in absence. Yet for all this weight, the episode dances on a knife's edge of comedy that keeps it from tipping into despair. Team Rocket blasts through the roof in their signature blunder, Wobbuffet bouncing like a deranged pinball amid the rubble, Jessie screeching theatrical vows of revenge, while James trips over a toy block. Meowth's Brooklyn growl cuts through the tension, plotting Pikachu heists with slapstick flair that has you chuckling even as Brock's story settles heavy in your chest. It's this alchemy, the original series' secret sauce, that elevates it beyond kids' fare. One moment, you're wiping away a tear at Flint's hollow apologies. The next, Arbok's coils are unraveling in a cloud of dust, sending the trio blasting off with stars in their eyes. Slapstick isn't filler here, it's ballast, lightening the load so the emotional stakes hit harder, lingering like the echo of a rock slide in a silent cave. Brock embodies this philosophy completely. His gym isn't about stacking wins. It's a haven where Pokémon evolve, not through battles alone, but through nurturing. Polishing fossils in the dead of night, bandaging wings on nocturnal Zubat, teaching Kabuto the rhythm of a lullaby. Ash leaves with the boulder badge, but he carries something heavier, the realization that mastery demands heart, that Pikachu's sparks aren't just for show, but for protecting the fragile bonds that make the journey worthwhile. As they trek onward, the city's lights fading behind, you sense the shift rippling through the series. Every gym ahead will peel back another layer, revealing trainers who treat their partners as extensions of their own souls, scarred and striving. This pewter interlude sets the tone for Kanto's hidden depths, where comedy cloaks the kind of family fractures that real worlds know all too well, and Pokémon rise as the unwavering family we choose. But the road to Cerulean City beckons with its own tangled legacies, where the gym leader's sisters wield charm like a weapon, and Misty confronts a burden that threatens to drown her ambitions before they even surface. Up next, Chapter 4, The Cerulean Sisters and Misty's Burden. As Ash steps out from the shadowed crags of Pewter City, his badge gleaming faintly under the sun, the road ahead winds towards Cerulean City, where the air grows thick with the scent of mist and river spray. Brock's own fractured family lingers in the background, like a half-forgotten echo, but here, in this shimmering blue haven, family ties twist into something far more tangled, pulling at the heart of one of the original trio's most enduring companions. Misty emerges not as the fiery water master you'd expect from a gym leader's heir, but as a girl overshadowed by waves of glamour and indifference. Her three older sisters, Daisy, Violet, and Lily, rule the Cerulean Gym like performers in their own aquatic revue, turning what should be a bastion of battle prowess into a glittering stage for underwater ballets and synchronized swims with their Pokémon. Picture the gym's vast pool, light dancing off the surface like scattered sapphires, as the sensational sisters dive in flawless arcs, their starmy and Goldeen trailing bubbles in perfect formation. Crowds cheer, cameras flash, but Misty? She's the one scrubbing the decks afterward, her frustration bubbling hotter than a Magikarp splash. These sisters aren't villains in the classic sense. They're a mirror to the shallow end of Pokémon fame, prioritising applause over ambition. Daisy, with her Valley Girl drawl and endless hair flips, embodies the carefree idol who drifts from one spotlight to the next. Violet and Lily echo her, a trio of pastel perfection that leaves no room for Misty's grit. They call her the Runt, dismiss her dreams of true mastery, and abandon the gym to her care whenever Wanderlust, or a modelling gig, calls. In episode 18, when Ash arrives battered from his last scrap, the sisters are off frolicking, thrusting the keys into Misty's hands like a discarded toy. She battles him fiercely, her Starmie whipping through the water with a precision born of resentment, but even in victory, she can't shake the weight of being the gym's reluctant keeper. This dynamic cuts deeper than sibling rivalry. It's Misty forging her identity in the undertow of neglect. While her sisters chase fleeting adoration, Misty clings to the water Pokémon, bond like a lifeline, training Psyduck despite its headaches and clumsiness, sensing the loyalty beneath its vacant stare. Her bike, destroyed by Pikachu's Thunderbolt back in episode 1, becomes her symbolic chain, tethering her to Ash's journey as much as her own quest for respect. In quiet moments by the riverbanks, as she polishes her lure or watches Horsehair curl in her palm, you feel her burden. The gym leader who leads alone, the sister forever proving she's more than a shadow. And yet, the Cerulean arc reveals why the early water-type episodes drift away from thunderous battles towards something gentler, more profound, the pulse of marine biology woven into the world's fabric. Forget the splashy showdowns. These stories plunge into ecosystems teeming with life. Episode 7 gifts us the mysterious crabby harvest on the shores, where fishermen's greed clashes with the tide's natural rhythm, hinting at overfishing's quiet toll. Horsehair's debut in episode 19 isn't about raw power, but nurturing fragile sea dragon young. Their ink clouds are defense etched from ocean survival. Even Misty's own Goldeen glides through episodes with an elegance that speaks to coral reefs' hidden symmetries, not just type advantages. The writers leaned into preservation because water, in the original anime's Kanto, wasn't a battlefield. It was a living archive. Shelder's symbiotic shells with Slowpoke, the migratory flocks of Wingull precursors, the way Staryu regenerates under moonlight like a starfish mending after a storm. These moments slow the pace, letting viewers absorb the brine-scented lessons. Pokémon thrive in balance, not conquest. Misty embodies this ethos, her anger at polluters in episode 23 flaring as she dives to save trapped Magikarp from a factory's oily spill. It's ecosystem poetry, where battles take a back seat to the whisper of waves eroding cliffs over eons, reminding us that true mastery means safeguarding the depths. Lurking in these watery shadows, though, slinks a trio whose failures echo Misty's own struggles with tragic undertones. Team Rocket bursts into the series early, but it's around Cerulean where their cartoon blasts peel back to reveal cracked foundations. Jessie, James, and Meowth aren't mere blunderers. They're a failed family unit, bound by rejection's sting. Jessie's harsh orphanage upbringing flashes in her rare, vulnerable snarls, her Arbok a stand-in for the affection she craves but commands through fear. James flees a stifling, wealthy clan, his wheezing's toxic haze mirroring the poison of inherited expectations. And Meowth, the gutter cat who learned human speech for a Persian's love, only to be cast aside, his payphone monologues aching with unrequited dreams. Their submarine schemes in Cerulean waters flop spectacularly, nets tangling on Goldeen schools, mechas rusting in the spray, but each send-off, blasted to the stars, lands with a pathos that lingers. They're not evil. They're starved for belonging, mirroring the sensational sisters' superficial unity and Misty's isolation. In one botched heist, Meowth laments their endless cycle over a flickering campfire, the stars above indifferent as the sisters' spotlights. This humanity elevates them beyond gags, making their pursuits feel like desperate grabs at purpose in a world that favours the shiny and strong. Misty's burden then ripples outward, challenging Ash to see Pokémon and people not as rivals or tools, but as souls adrift in shared currents. Her journey pulls the group toward deeper waters, where preservation heals what battles break, as the rivers carry them onward to sunlit shores and healing hands await. We'll uncover the quiet dilemmas at the heart of every Pokémon Center, probing the ethics that bind trainer and creature in ways you never expected. As Ash and Misty emerge from the misty vales of Cerulean City, their Pokémon still humming with the subtle rhythms of river ecosystems and fragile marine balances. They stumble upon the first true sanctuary of the Kanto Wilds, a Pokémon Center, its red roof glowing like a beacon under the perpetual twilight of those early episodes. But step inside with me, and you'll find more than just healing pods and cheerful nurses. You'll uncover a vast, shadowy infrastructure that pulses at the heart of the original anime's medical lore, one that forces us to confront the raw ethics of a world where creatures are battled into near death, only to be patched up for the next round. Nurse Joy stands there eternally, her pink uniform crisp, her smile unwavering, a fixture in every center from Viridian to Cinnabar. In the 1990s anime, she's not just one woman, she's a network, a legion of identical faces spanning the region, connected by some unspoken familial web that the show hints at but never fully unravels. Cousins, they call them, hundreds of Nurse Joys, each trained in the same precise cadence of revival, each attended by a Chansey whose egg-laying heals with improbable efficiency. Picture the hidden channels beneath the surface, radio signals crackling between centers, coordinating supply lines of potions and antidotes shipped from Saffron's pharmaceutical underbelly, while Blissey precursors waddle through sterile halls, their pouches stocked with evolutionary medicine that borders on the miraculous. This infrastructure isn't benign, it's a machine of moral ambiguity. Pokémon arrive in Pokéballs, digitized essences squeezed into stasis, battered from battles that leave them charred, poisoned, or paralyzed. Nurse Joy slots them into those glowing recovery machines, waves of blue energy knitting flesh and bone in minutes, restoring full vitality as if the trauma never happened. But what does that erasure cost? In the original series, the underbelly, Pokémon whimpering on stretchers, eyes glazed from overexertion, their wild instincts suppressed for human conquest. Is this medicine or manufacturing? The centers churn out battle-ready partners, fueling an endless cycle where Ash's Pikachu shocks foes into submission, only to recharge for tomorrow's gym clash. Ethical shadows loom, Pokémon as renewable resources, their pain commodified, while trainers walk away unscathed. Delve deeper into the medical lore of those early years, and you'll find tech that feels ripped from a 90s cyberpunk fever dream. Revival, herbs brewed from rare berries accelerate cellular regeneration, bypassing natural healing timelines that could sideline a fighter for weeks. Chansey's soft-boiled technique, depicted in hushed tones during late-night center visits, extracts life-giving eggs that pulse with primordial energy, a nod to the ancient lore of Pokémon as Earth's building blocks. Yet the anime lingers on the human cost too. Nurse Joy's overworked, their identical features masking exhaustion, as Brock inevitably flirts, oblivious to the ethical grind. Centers double as regional hubs, diagnosing outbreaks like the Saffron psychic epidemics or Viridian's fossil revivals, where Aerodactyls screech back to life, their primal rage questioning if some creatures should stay buried. And then there's the forgotten technology woven into this ethical tapestry, the Pokédex, not the sleek gadget of later remakes, but a sentient oracle in the original anime, its metallic voice droning encyclopedic warnings through Oak's prototype lens. Ash flips it open in the dense underbrush, and it intones gravely, Pidgey, a common bird Pokémon, uses gust to evade predators in the canopy. But listen closer, it's alive with cautionary lore for a dangerous natural world, cataloguing toxins that could fell a Machop in seconds, evolutions triggered by perilous stones, habitats teeming with territorial beedrills. This isn't a toy, it's a survival AI, programmed with Oak's vast data trove, murmuring probabilities of encounters that turn forests into minefields. In those 1997 episodes, it feels eerily conscious, pausing mid-scan as if weighing the brutality of nature, urging restraint amid the thrill of capture. The Pokédex embodies the center's ethos extended outward, a guide to taming chaos without fully understanding it, much like Nurse Joy's machines tame battle scars. Ethical fractures appear here too. Scanning implies surveillance, reducing wild Pokémon to data points before they're hurled into Pokéballs, their freedom quantified. Yet in the soft glow of center monitors, where Dex entries flicker during downtime, it paints a world richer than battles suggest. Ecosystems where Parasec's puppeteer hosts, Voltorb mimic innocence to explode on intruders, a natural order demanding respect over domination. But no thread in this medical web pulls tighter than the Porygon incident, a real-world cataclysm that scarred the anime's production forever. Episode 38, aired December 16, 1997, introduces Porygon, the virtual Pokémon engineered by human code, tasked with debugging a rogue satellite in a storyline that mirrors the center's tech reliance. Ash's team pursues it into digital space, lasers flashing in rapid red and blue strobes to simulate cyberspace glitches. Over 680 Japanese children convulsed in photosensitive epileptic seizures, the worst mass incident in animation history, halting production for 4 months and embedding caution into every frame thereafter. The fallout reshaped the series' visual DNA. Pre-Porygon, the 1997 art reveled in stark contrasts, Pikachu's cheeks sparking white-hot, thunderbolts slicing shadows in Viridian Forest. Post-incident, animators adopted muted palettes, slower cuts, diffused flashes that evoke a dreamlike haze rather than epileptic jolts. Nurse Joy's recovery machines lost their harsh neon pulses, softening to pastel waves, while Pokédex scans dimmed to gentle hums. This wasn't mere censorship, it infused the lore with newfound restraint, mirroring the ethical pivot. Technology as double-edged, capable of healing or harm. Porygon vanished from future episodes, a ghost in the machine, its absence a silent testament to hubris. Much like cloning debates around the Joy Network or the Pokédex's cold empiricism. In those altered visuals, Pokémon centers take on a haunted serenity, their ethics laid bare under safer lights. Are we stewards or overlords, reviving beasts for spectacle while wild dangers rage unchecked? The original anime whispers these questions through every Chansey egg and flickering Dex entry, a moral undercurrent that elevates it beyond kids' fare. As we leave the sterile hum of these healing halls, where digital spectres like Porygon still linger in the code, the trail winds toward an even stranger veil, the ghost of Maiden's Peak, where fog-shrouded illusions challenge everything we think we know about the living and the lost. As the glow of Nurse Joy's Pokémon centers faded behind them, Ash and his companions pressed onward along the Kanto coastline, the salty breeze carrying whispers of ancient tales from the cliffs ahead. Episode 23, The Ghost of Maiden's Peak, arrives like a fog rolling in from the sea, the series' first true plunge into the spectral depths of Japanese folklore. Here, the anime doesn't just hint at the supernatural, It drapes the screen in it, transforming a simple lakeside festival into a haunting elegy for lost love and eternal longing. You can almost feel the wooden dock creak underfoot as the group arrives at Maiden's Peak on a balmy summer evening. Lanterns bob like fireflies along the shore, casting rippling golden reflections on the water, while villagers in Yucatan gather for the annual festival, honouring a legend 2,000 years old. A beautiful maiden promised to her sailor lover stood watch night after night as his ship vanished in a storm. Refusing food or rest, she withered away, her spirit forever bound to the peak, luring men with her ethereal song to join her in the waves. It's no coincidence this tale echoes the yokai of Japanese myth, the restless ghosts, or onryo, who embody unresolved grief, their wails piercing the veil between worlds. The original anime, fresh from its 1997 premiere, seizes this cultural vein early, weaving Pokémon into folklore not as battlers, but as vessels for the uncanny. The episode unfolds with a deliberate chill, shadows lengthening as dusk falls. Ash, ever the skeptic, laughs off the warnings from locals dressed as the maiden, their painted faces ghostly under the lanterns. Misty clings closer, her water Pokémon instincts sensing something amiss in the lapping tide. Brock, smitten as always, falls first, hypnotised by a luminous figure atop the peak, beckoning with promises of romance. But when Team Rocket crashes the party, blasting off in their usual comedic flair, only to return ensnared by the same spell, the horror sharpens. Fireworks explode overhead, yet the air thickens with unease, the festival's joy curdling into dread. At the heart of this spectral drama pulses Ghastly, the shadowy gas Pokémon who defies every rule of the Pokédex. In the games, Ghastly drifts silently, a mischievous puff of toxic vapour, licking at prey with a gaseous tongue that induces shivers. But here, it speaks, its voice a guttural rasp echoing the maiden's cries, commanding obedience through hypnosis. This isn't mere animation license, it's a narrative masterstroke, breaking Pokémon biology to infuse depth. Why have a mute haunt when a talking ghost can plead, "Don't leave me alone," its eye gleaming with fabricated sorrow? Ghastly shapeshifts into the maiden, her kimono flowing like smoke, drawing fishermen to watery graves, not through mindless predation, but through the ache of human emotion. The anime prioritizes story over consistency, letting this haunter-line Pokémon personify the legend, its gaseous form swirling with the fog of 2 millennia's grief. Consider the implications for the world's lore. Up to this point, Pokémon encounters felt grounded, bugs in Viridian Forest, rocks in pewter gyms. Maiden's Peak shatters that, suggesting spectral forces predate trainers, intertwined with human history. The legend's 2,000-year span aligns eerily with ancient events hinted in early flavor text, like cosmic origins billions of years back, or cataclysms mere centuries ago. Ghastly isn't just a wild encounter, it's a guardian of forgotten myths, hypnotizing intruders to preserve the maiden's vigil. When Ash's Bulbasaur snaps the trance with a vine whip, revealing the truth, the resolution feels earned, not through raw power, but understanding. The ghost weeps, not in rage but loneliness, retreating into the night as fireworks bloom, like fleeting souls. This episode exemplifies how those so-called filler outings breathed life into Kanto beyond the gym badge grind. No badges here, no Indigo League prep, just a detour that swells the world with texture. Festivals pulse with lantern-lit stalls hawking takoyaki and goldfish scooping, children in gaita clacking along paths lined with stone lanterns. Villagers share sake under the stars, recounting the tale generation after generation, while the sea murmurs eternal secrets. Team Rocket's bumbling infiltration adds levity, their motto warped into ghostly echoes, but it grounds the horror in familiarity. These moments craft a living, breathing region where trainers aren't the centre. Folklore is, with Pokémon as its enigmatic players. Delve deeper into the production choices, and the episode's boldness shines. Airing in late 1997, amid the hype of the Indigo League push, it risks alienating young viewers with genuine frights. The maiden's silhouette against the moon, eyes hollow as black pearls, or Ghastly's maw yawning wide to engulf Brock. Shadows dominate, hand-drawn cell animation, flickering with otherworldly menace. Long before digital sheen smoothed later seasons, sound design amplifies the dread. Distant shamisen plucks mimicking wind, waves crashing like heartbroken sighs. Ghastly's voice, modulator dipping into subharmonics that linger in your ears. It's horror tailored for bedtime lore, soothing in its rhythm, yet thrilling in revelation. Yet the true genius lies in thematic resonance. The maiden's weight mirrors Ash's own journey. Endless pursuit of an elusive dream. The Pokémon master horizon always receding like that lost ship. Misty confronts her fears of abandonment, echoing her sister's neglect. Brock seeks connection beyond fleeting crushes. Even Pikachu, perched warily, sparks at illusions, underscoring friendship's light-piercing deception. Ghastly's rule-breaking speech humanizes it, blurring trainer Pokémon lines, foreshadowing deeper bonds ahead. In a series built on battles, this filler whispers that Kanto harbors mysteries gyms can't touch, haunted peaks where ghosts converse, legends linger, and the veil thins. These interstitial tales accumulate, painting a tapestry richer than any league conference. Without Maiden's Peak, Kanto risks flatness, a badge-hopping highway. With it, every cove hides yokai whispers, every festival a portal to antiquity. The anime's early writers, drawing from Shigeru Miyamoto's game roots, laced with Japanese myth, infuse episodes like this with cultural authenticity. Ghastly's anomaly? A deliberate flex proving Pokémon lore bends for storytelling's sake. Much like Mewtwo's cloned sentience in the first movie, it invites you to question how many unseen spirits drift through Pallet Town's fields or Cerulean's depths. As the lantern lights dim and the group sails away, the peak fades into mist, but its chill clings. This foray into supernatural horror cements the original series' edge, unafraid to unsettle, unafraid to innovate. And just when you think the shadows have lifted, the horizon teases colossal silhouettes rising from misty isles ahead. Stay with me as we uncover Chapter 7, the island of giant Pokémon, where legends scale up to titanic proportions, blurring the line between myth and monstrous reality in ways that will leave you drifting toward dreams of overgrown wonders. What if the Pokémon themselves could narrate their own story, revealing loyalties and resentments we'd never suspected? Just episodes after Ghastly's eerie whispers shattered the silence of Maiden's Peak, the original anime delivers its boldest stroke yet in episode 47, the island of giant Pokémon. A freak storm hurls Ash, Misty, Brock, and their rivals from Team Rocket onto a fog-shrouded isle in the Kanto Seas, where colossal versions of familiar creatures roam like living mountains, their shadows eclipsing the sun-dappled waves, crashing against jagged black rocks. Separated from their trainers in the chaos, Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charmeleon, Squirtle, and the rest of Ash's crew find themselves adrift among these titans, Onyx coiling through earthen tunnels like serpents from ancient myths, Pinsir scuttling across beaches with claws that could rend steel, and a towering Fearow blotting out the sky with wings that stir gales. But the true revelation unfolds not in the giant's roars, which echo like thunder over mist-veiled cliffs, but in the subtitles that suddenly appear, granting us unprecedented access to the inner monologues of these pocket monsters. For the first time, Pikachu's cheeky sparks aren't just visual flair, we hear his thoughts crackle with unwavering devotion. Ash may be clueless sometimes, but he's our clueless leader, Pikachu muses, his yellow fur bristling as he rallies the group through vine-choked jungles, where dew clings to leaves like morning jewels. Across the island's divided shores, Team Rocket's Pokémon, Arbok, Weezing, and the beleaguered trio's other captives wash up in stark isolation. Their subtitles paint a far grimmer portrait, voices laced with exhaustion and quiet fury. Arbok's hood flares not in menace but despair, his thoughts slithering through the underbrush. Jesse and James treat us like disposable tools, blasting off into oblivion while we bear the brunt. Weezing floats listlessly over tide pools shimmering with bioluminescent plankton, coughing digital smoke as he laments the endless schemes. The bottle caps jammed into his gaseous form for disguises, the net traps that snag his own allies. These aren't the bumbling villains we've laughed at. Through their eyes, the motto rings hollow, a mantra of mutual misery binding human and Pokémon in a cycle of failure. As the groups converge in a hidden cavern pulsing with the bioluminescent glow of giant shelter embedded in the walls, the philosophical chasm yawns wide. Ash's team embodies harmony, their thoughts weaving tales of shared triumphs, the electric bond with Pikachu forged in Pallet's thunderous downpours, Bulbasaur's vine whips that saved them from a Viridian's shadows, Charmeleon's flames tempered by Brock's steady hand. They speak of humans not as masters, but as flawed companions stumbling toward growth, much like the eternal 10-year-old Ash himself, whose optimism mirrors their own resilient spirits. "We've chosen this path," Squirtle declares, in bubbly resolve, his shell scarred from countless beachside brawls, "because together we evolve beyond battles." Team Rocket's side counters with raw indictment, their dialogue a slow-burning indictment of exploitation. Meowth, absent here, but evoked in memory, had already hinted at rebellion with his human speech. But Arbok vocalizes the unspoken. Why do we blast off for their dreams when ours are crushed underfoot? Weezing's puffs carry whispers of freedom, envying the wild giants who tower unbound, their roars free from Motto's rhythm. The divide crystallizes in a tense standoff amid glowing fungi that cast ethereal blues across damp stone. Ash's Pokémon urge defection, offering alliance against the island's perils, while Rockets cling to fractured loyalty, haunted by the void of abandonment. No human voices intrude. The cave becomes a confessional, subtitles scrolling like ancient scrolls unrolled by sea winds. This episode's genius lies in its restraint, turning silence into symphony. Without a single trainer's quip or command, we witness character arcs unfold in the Pokémon's own words. Pikachu's leadership solidifying, Squirtle's tactical mind sharpening, even the usually aloof Charmeleon softening with reluctant camaraderie. The giants serve as metaphors, their immense forms lumbering through palm-fringed valleys, a reminder of untamed power, contrasting the pocket bonds that define the series. Giant Kangaskhan cradles her young in nests of woven fronds, her thoughts rumbling like distant quakes about nurturing without conquest. A colossal Snorlax blocks paths with snores that shake coconuts from trees, pondering lazy abundance over relentless pursuit. Yet beneath the spectacle, deeper lore simmers. The island evokes Kanto's prehistoric undercurrents, those flavor texts from the games whispering of Pokémon predating human history by millions of years. Here the giants aren't freaks of nature, but echoes of that primal era, mutated perhaps by the same cosmic forces that birthed Mewtwo in shadowed labs or stirred Lugia from Johto's whirlpools. The storm that strands them mirrors the series' own turbulent seas post-Porygon, a visual shift to softer palettes that bathe the isle in sunset oranges bleeding into twilight purples, waves lapping with hypnotic rhythm. What elevates this to gold standard isn't spectacle alone, but the empathy it demands. Ash's team emerges more heroic, their subtitles affirming the anime's creed, friendship as evolution's true catalyst. Rocket's Pokémon, though sympathetic, choose return, not from love, but inertia, foreshadowing their endless loop, a tragic comedy rooted in mutual dependence. Fans overlook it amid badge hunts, yet it cements why the original run lingers in dreams. Pokémon as sentient souls, their thoughts as vast as the ocean that birthed the storm. As rescue dawns with the sun-piercing fog, like a beacon from pallet, bonds subtly shift, glances exchanged, loyalties reaffirmed in quiet resolve. But the island's secrets don't end with departure. Whispers persist of experiments, mirroring those that birthed ultimate power from cloned despair. Tune in next for Chapter 8, The Tragedy of Mewtwo's Birth, where the anime confronts creation's darkest shadow, and a single Pokémon's origin unravels the fragile line between partner and weapon. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. While the giant Pokémon of that forsaken island bared their souls through those rare, subtitled whispers, raw instincts clashing with human folly, a far more sinister experiment unfolded in the shadows of Cinnabar Island, where the Earth's fiery breath met the cold precision of human ambition. Cinnabar, that smouldering jewel in the Kanto Sea, crowned by a volcano that never quite slept, hid its darkest secrets beneath the ruins of Pokémon Mansion. You can almost feel the acrid sulfur in the air, the ground trembling faintly, as if the island itself recoiled from what transpired within those crumbling walls. It started with a fire, a blaze that gutted the mansion years before Ash ever set foot there, leaving behind charred journals and flickering computer terminals that still hummed with forbidden data. Explorers like our young trainer would later stumble into its bowels, episode 66 pulling back the curtain just enough to hint at the horrors, riddles etched into stone, ghostly echoes of screams, and the lingering question of what genius or madman had torched it all to cover his tracks. That man was Dr. Fuji, a brilliant geneticist whose obsession with resurrection blurred the line between science and sorcery. Funded in secret by Giovanni, the shadowy head of Team Rocket, Fuji didn't just chase Pokémon mastery, he sought to rewrite the code of life itself. His lab, buried deep in the mansion's sublevels, pulsed with the glow of cryogenic chambers and whirring sequences. There he unearthed a fossilized eyelash, whispers say from a hidden jungle expedition, belonging to Mew, the elusive ancestor of all Pokémon. A mythical phantom that danced through genetic history like a ghost in the machine. Mew wasn't just rare, it embodied the primal spark, the unspoiled essence that birthed every creature, from Bulbasaur to Zapdos. Cloning it wasn't enough for Fuji. He dreamed bigger, splicing its DNA to forge Mewtwo, a being of engineered supremacy, stronger, faster, unbound by nature's gentle limits. But creation came at a butcher's price. The tanks filled with failures, hideous, twitching abortions of flesh that never drew breath, their forms a mockery of life. Fuji poured his grief into virtual reality dreams, neural simulations where he reunited with his deceased daughter and her iPet Porygon, blurring the veil between lost loved ones and lab-grown phantoms. Those dreams leaked into the clone's subconscious, haunting the few that stirred. A clone Charmander gasping its last, a Bulbasaur wilting before it could vine, each one pleading in digital echoes for purpose amid the pain. Mewtwo awoke alone in that sterile womb, its immense psychic power shattering the glass as it grappled with a void no natural birth could prepare it for. Was this life, or just a cruel echo? The mansion's fire, some say, was Mewtwo's first rage, a psychic inferno to erase the evidence of its fractured origin. Those ethical fractures ran deep, mirroring debates that echoed even in our world during the late 90s. Cloning wasn't fantasy then. Dolly the sheep had just bleated into existence 2 years prior, sparking global fury over souls engineered in Petri dishes. The anime wove this in subtly, never preaching but letting the ruins speak. Pokémon as property or partners? Fuji treated them as raw material, Giovanni as weapons, reducing miracles of evolution to assembly line products. Ash's journey, with Pikachu's defiant spark, stood in stark contrast. Friendship forged in the wild, not forged in labs. Yet Cinnabar's shadow loomed over Kanto's gyms, a reminder that for every badge earned in sunlight, darker forces brewed in the magma. Then came the summer of 1998, when Mewtwo Strikes Back exploded onto screens, not as isolated spectacle, but woven seamlessly into the weekly Thursday broadcasts on TV Tokyo. The original anime had been airing since April of the prior year, episode 50-odd building hype with Cinnabar teases, but the film, released July 18th, bridged the gap like a thunderclap. Promos bled into episodes, Team Rocket's bumbling schemes hinting at Giovanni's grander machinations, while the movie's climax unfolded as if slotted right between weekly adventures. Viewers tuned in Thursdays for Ash's scrapes, then flocked to theatres for the escalation. Mewtwo's airborne fortress, a storm-lashed behemoth cloned from New Island's crags, where it summoned the world's elite trainers under false pretenses. Integration raised the stakes sky high, transforming the cozy broadcast rhythm into a serialized epic. Weekly episodes showed Ash collecting badges, oblivious to the psychic storm brewing. The movie detonated it, revealing Giovanni's rocket empire, not as cartoonish thefts, but a biotech juggernaut. Pikachu's bond with Ash, tested against Mewtwo's psychic tyranny, Misty and Brock's loyalty. Pushed to the brink amid cloned armies marching like Frankenstein's horde. Japan buzzed, ratings spiked, merchandise flew, and the anime returned with Mewtwo's fallout rippling through, Giovanni's scars a silent promise of vendettas to come. It wasn't filler, it was the hinge that swung Kanto from boyish quests to existential threats, proving the original series lore ran deeper than games ever dared. At the heart pulsed the clash of Mew versus Mewtwo, a duel transcending blasts and barriers into philosophy's arena. Mew, the eternal child of creation, floated with playful whimsy, pink, elusive, embodying pure existence without agenda. Mewtwo towered as its dark mirror, armoured violet fury forged in isolation, roaring questions that echoed through storm clouds. What is a soul, if not earned through nature's chaos? Mewtwo saw purpose as domination, a cloned god remaking the world in its image, forcing humans and Pokémon into subservience to prove its worth. Mew countered with effortless joy, dodging megaton blasts not through power but presence, life's original code, untainted by human hubris. Their mid-air ballet over the clone-ravaged shores became meditation incarnate. Mewtwo hurled existential barbs. Born without mother, without meaning, was it alive or abomination? Mew responded not in words but flight, a reminder that purpose blooms from freedom, not labs. Ash's intervention, climbing sheer cliffs, pleading across species lines, crystallized it. Souls aren't cloned. They're kindled in bonds, in the wild unpredictability the giants of that island voiced so plainly. Mewtwo's tears amid the wreckage, choosing exile over empire, left viewers pondering long after credits. Does science gift life, or merely mimic it? This tragedy shadowed Ash's path forward, the weight of created souls lingering like Cinnabar's ash, even as he chased horizons brighter still. And as we approach Chapter 9, the Indigo Plateau Dream, you'll see how those dreams of mastery collide with realities far crueler than any clone's awakening. Tonight we've peeled back another layer of why the original Pokémon anime lingers in our dreams. Deeper, darker, more alive than memory allows. Settle in deeper if you can. The plateau calls with promises that will break your heart anew. As the echoes of Mewtwo's fury faded from that fateful island showdown, Ash turned his gaze northward, badges glinting on his jacket like hard-won stars. Cinnabar had tested him against the shadows of creation itself. But the true crucible loomed larger, the Indigo Plateau, where every trainer's dream either ignited or crumbled into dust. For Ash Ketchum, this wasn't just a tournament, it was the culmination of a journey stitched from sheer willpower, not the polished regimens of his rivals. Picture the road there, winding through Kanto's mist-shrouded mountains and fog-laced valleys. Ash had stormed 8 gyms, from Brock's unyielding boulder traps in Pewter to Blaine's scorching labyrinth on Cinnabar. Each victory scraped from the brink by Pikachu's thunderbolts and sheer audacity. No fancy breeding programs for him, no calculated evolutions timed to perfection. His Charizard refused commands outright, perched aloof on cliffsides, while Pidgeotto circled overhead like a wild sentinel. Brock cooked meals from foraged berries. Misty navigated rivers with her temperamental Starmie, and they pressed on, badges in hand, but bodies weary from endless Team Rocket ambushes and ghost-haunted nights. The path grew grueling beyond the gyms. Preliminary rounds at the plateau demanded qualifiers, brutal elimination battles under relentless sun, where hundreds of trainers, some with squads honed since childhood, clashed in a coliseum carved from ancient stone. Ash arrived ragged, his team a patchwork of loyalties, Bulbasaur stubborn in the underbrush, Squirtle armoured but undersized, and Pikachu, that electric spark of defiance, cheek scarred from 100 shocks. Rivals eyed him warily, the kid from Pallet with no family legacy, no mentor's dojo, just a starter who once zapped him senseless on day one. What set Ash apart wasn't power, it was chaos incarnate. Traditional training? Forget it. Elite trainers, like those from the Pokémon Tech School, drilled evolutions and type matchups in sterile academies, scripting battles like chess masters. Ash learned in the wild, dodging Arbok strikes in Viridian Forest, outswimming Gyarados in furious rapids, bonding over shared campfires where Pikachu roasted marshmallows with mini thunderbolts. His losses piled up early, that crushing defeat to Lieutenant Surge's Raichu, where Pikachu shrank to size but grew unbreakable resolve. Or AJ as Sandshrew Gauntlet, exposing how Ash's heart outpaced his strategy. Yet each stumble fueled him, turning defeats into evolutions not just of Pokémon, but of the boy himself. By the time the Indigo League Conference dawned, 82 episodes of raw adventure had forged him. The arena thrummed with 5,000 spectators, banners snapping in the wind, the air thick with the ozone of impending clashes. Ash's first rounds were poetry in motion, Primeape's farewell fury against a hulking Onix, Kingler pinching victory from jaws of defeat. He surged into the top 16, a feat no Pallet rookie had dreamed of. But then Richie, that unassuming farm boy with a sparky, not unlike Pikachu, unravelled it all. Ash's Butterfree, fresh evolved and tender, fell to Richie's hapless Butterfree in a hypnotic dance of sleep powder. Charizard, arrogant as ever, napped mid-battle against Richie's taunting Zippo. Pikachu pushed to exhaustion, collapsing in the rain-soaked finale. Top 16. Not champion. The crowd hushed as Ash knelt in the mud, Pikachu limp in his arms, the dream slipping away like stadium lights, dimming at dusk. Here's why that loss shattered moulds. For a children's show in 1999, heroes won, always. Saturday morning cartoons crowned underdogs with trophies, moral victories be damned. But Pokémon dared the unthinkable, failure as growth. Ash didn't rage quit or get a plot contrivance bailout. He cried, real tears mixing with rain, then stood, hugging Richie in respect. No rematch cheat code, no sudden power-up. This was revolution, wrapped in kid gloves, teaching that mastery isn't badges or belts, but the fire that reignites after Ash scatters. The bittersweet, close to Kanto, hung heavy. Professor Oak's call from Pallet, pride laced with gentle nudge. You've come far, but the road stretches on. Misty and Brock lingered at the plateau's edge, horizons calling, Misty to her sister's gym, Brock to his wanderlust. Ash boarded the ferry south, Pikachu perched on his shoulder, eyes fixed on uncharted waves. No fanfare, just quiet resolve. Indigo Plateau wasn't an end, it was a mirror, reflecting a boy unchanged in age, but transformed in spirit, ready to chase mastery into realms unknown. That lingering horizon whispers of sun-drenched atolls and trials veiled in tropical haze, pulling us toward Chapter 10, the tropical liminality of the Orange Islands, where the sea itself guards secrets that redefine what it means to be a challenger. Ash's dreams of glory at the Indigo Plateau shattered like fragile glass under the weight of his own inexperience, leaving him adrift, not just emotionally, but literally on the vast, whispering ocean that separated Kanto from uncharted horizons. Professor Oak, ever the sage mentor, handed him a peculiar gift before he departed, a shimmering orb known only as the GS Ball, sealed away with instructions too cryptic to unravel. What secrets did it hold? A vessel for time itself, or perhaps a beacon to forgotten legends? In the original series, this enigmatic artifact dangled like a half-remembered dream, the greatest unsolved mystery of Ash's early journeys, teasing futures yet to unfold without ever yielding its truth. That open sea carried him straight into the embrace of the Orange Archipelago, a sprawling chain of tropical islands suspended between the familiar shores of home and the promise of something entirely new. Picture the sun dipping low over endless turquoise waves, casting golden hues across palm-fringed beaches where the air hangs heavy with the scent of salt and blooming hibiscus. These weren't the structured paths of Kanto's gyms or the competitive grind of league battles. No, the Orange Islands unfolded like a feverish reverie, a liminal space where time stretched thin and boundaries blurred. Liminality, that exquisite threshold state where you're neither here nor there, perfectly mirrored in these isles. Filler episodes in the grand anime timeline, yet brimming with serene, meandering tales designed to lull the mind into quiet surrender. Why does this archipelago whisper so seductively for long-form sleep storytelling? Drift with me through its essence. Isolated atolls rising from mist-shrouded lagoons, where Ash and his companions, Misty with her growing fondness for water types, Brock forever chasing horizons of romance and cuisine, wander without urgency. Episode after episode, they navigate by the stars and fickle winds, encountering quirky islanders who challenge them not with raw power, but with trials of ingenuity and harmony. Remember the Mandarin Island gym, perched on cliffs battered by eternal storms, or the sleepy village of Travita, where vines choke ancient statues. The pacing slows to a hypnotic rhythm, lazy afternoons fishing for elusive Pokémon, nights under canopies of fireflies, the gentle lap of waves against hulls sinking with your breath. It's pure ambient escapism, far from the adrenaline of indigo battles. Here, conflicts resolve in sunsets and shared laughter, evoking that nostalgic ache of childhood vacations that never quite end. This liminality seeps into every frame, a deliberate production choice in the late 90s episodes, bridging Kanto's closure with Johto's dawn. The islands exist in narrative limbo, anime original content, untethered from game lore, allowing writers to experiment with ethereal vibes. Volcanic peaks belch lazy smoke into cotton cloud skies. Hidden coves shelter bioluminescent seas, where Pokémon dance like living stars. Ash surf swells on his Pikachu's Thunderbolt-powered board, the spray cool against sun-warmed skin, while Misty's Psyduck bumbles into comedic reveries that punctuate the calm. These moments aren't filler in the pejorative sense, they're the series' secret heart. crafted for viewers sinking into bed, letting the tropical haze wash away the day's tensions. The soundtrack swells with ukulele strums and steel drums, waves crashing in endless loops, a sonic bath for the subconscious. And amid this dreamy drift, Ash begins to transform. No longer the impulsive boy who charged blindly into Pewter Gym, he emerges here as a competent leader, his decisions sharpening like a blade tempered in salt water. Watch him orchestrate rescues on storm-lashed shores, delegate to his team with newfound poise, even navigate the archipelago's deceptive currents using stars and instinct. It's subtle growth, woven through trials unique to these isles. The Orange League demands not just badges but crests earned via elemental mastery, fire dances on Kumquat, ice mazes on Shoal, electric tempests on Pomelo. Ash claims them one by one, his Pikachu evolving tactics mid-battle, Brock's Onyx shrugging off lava flows, Misty's Togepi cooing through fog-shrouded perils. Crowning this maturation sails the Lapras, that majestic sapphire serpent of the sea, acquired not through conquest, but compassion. Stranded on an icy outcrop, Ash frees a mother Lapras and her calf from poachers' nets, their songs echoing like whale calls across frozen waves, a poignant nod to endangered species, lore echoing real-world pleas. The baby Lapras imprints on him, becoming his vessel across the archipelago, its sleek back cutting through swells with effortless grace. Riding those undulating ridges, wind tousling his cap, Ash commands the ocean itself, a symbol of maturity etched in every horizon spanning glide. No more hitchhiking on strangers' boats. Now he ferries his friends, protects pods from nets, and nets alike, his voice carrying authority over the roar of tides. Lapras isn't just transport, it's partnership incarnate, mirroring Pikachu's loyalty but scaled to epic, watery vistas, teaching Ash the rhythm of waves and the weight of responsibility. Yet even as Ash crests toward Orange League triumph on Pomelo Island, facing the towering pyramid gym of Drake, his Dragonite a storm of scales and fury, the GS Ball remains a silent enigma in his pack, pulsing with untold potential. Oak's voice crackles over videophone. Guard it closely. Deliver it to Kurt in Johto. But why? Whispers hint at Celebi's forest realms, time-warping adventures deferred to distant episodes, leaving viewers and sleepy listeners in tantalizing suspense. The archipelago's liminality amplifies this. Islands that fade into legend, Pokémon that vanish into mists, a boy on the cusp of mastery, yet forever 10. As the credits roll on these sun-soaked sagas, faint ruins peek from vine-choked cliffs, etched with symbols of civilizations long vanished, teasing the ancient civilizations of Pokemopolis waiting just beyond the waves. As the misty shores of the Orange Islands fade into the horizon, that enigmatic GS Ball pulses with unanswered questions, tucked away in Professor Ivy's care, hinting at secrets buried deeper than the ocean floor. But what if those secrets stretch back not just decades, but thousands of years, to a lost city where humans and Pokémon forged a bond so profound it reshaped the world? Deep beneath the sands of the Orange Archipelago lies Pokemopolis, an ancient civilization whose colossal ruins whisper of giants long forgotten. Excavation teams in the anime stumble upon these ruins during Ash's trials, unearthing weathered stone carvings that tower like silent sentinels. At the heart of it all stands a massive statue of Gengar, its mischievous grin frozen in eternal twilight, eyes gleaming with otherworldly malice even in stone. Beside it looms an equally immense Alakazam, spoons bent in psychic fury, moustache flowing like captured wind. These aren't mere monuments, they're relics from an era when Pokémon grew to sizes that dwarfed mountains, their forms etched into the bedrock of history. Archaeologists in the episode piece together the puzzle. Pokemopolis thrived millennia ago, its people revering psychic and ghost types as gods. Inscriptions in a forgotten script reveal rituals where trainers communed with these behemoths, channeling their power to bend reality itself. Imagine the air thick with spectral fog as colossal Gengar phased through city walls, phasing armies into oblivion, while Alakazams lifted entire temples with telekinetic grace. The city's fall came swiftly, cataclysmic earthquakes, or perhaps the wrath of these very guardians swallowing Pokemopolis whole. Yet the lore runs darker still. Flashbacks in the ruins depict not just worship, but war. Humans clad in ornate armor clash against rampaging herds of prehistoric Pokemon. Blades clashing against fangs and claws in battles that scarred the earth. Giant Onyx burrow through battlefields, splitting ground like vengeful serpents, while herds of Donphan trample legions underfoot. These weren't wild encounters. They hint at a systematic conflict where early humans sought to subjugate Pokemon for dominance, igniting a cycle of retaliation that echoes through time. This ancient strife finds echoes in the modern world of Pokemon Masters. The term Master itself carries weight from Pokemopolis's elite psychics, who mastered not just badges, but the very essence of Pokemon souls. Their descendants evolved into today's gym leaders and champions, passing down bloodlines attuned to psychic whispers and ghostly veils. Ash's own journey, chasing badges across Kanto and beyond, unknowingly retraces these paths. Pewter's rocks evoking fossilized battlegrounds, Saffron's psychic towers channeling Alakazam's legacy. Consider the timeline etched into those ruins, events stretching back thousands of years, aligning with whispers from earlier episodes. The island of giant Pokemon introduced megafauna like colossal Pinsir and Arcanine, stranding Ash's team amid beasts that once ruled unchallenged. Now, Pokemopolis confirms they weren't anomalies. They were survivors of that primordial age, their gigantism a remnant of unchecked evolution before human interference tipped the scales. The anime drops these breadcrumbs subtly during filler arcs perfect for lore enthusiasts. As Ash activates the ruins mechanism, a crystal altar humming with latent energy, the statues animate in holographic splendor. Gengar cackles through the chamber, illusions of spectral hands clawing at intruders, while Alakazam's mind probes the minds of the living, unearthing forgotten fears. It's no coincidence this unfolds in the Orange Islands, that liminal bridge between regions, where the GS Ball's mystery amplifies the sense of portals to the past. But why bury such darkness in a kids' show? The original series thrived on duality, Pikachu's electric rebellion masking profound loyalty, Team Rocket's slapstick veiling calculated schemes. Here, Pokemopolis unveils the shadow side of mastery. Power demands sacrifice. Ancient texts warn of the Great Schism, a war where Pokemon turned on their human overlords. Psychic overlords like Alakazam shattering minds in psychic storms, Gengar dragging souls to the Shadow Realm. Victory came at a cost. Humans learned humility, forging the trainer's code of partnership over conquest. Fossil Pokemon tie in seamlessly. Revived Kabutops and Aerodactyl in Cinnabar Labs aren't just experiments. They're echoes of Pokemopolis's fallen warriors, armored relics from the Schism, their primal rage subdued only by modern Pokeballs. Mewtwo's origin amplifies this. Cloned from ancient Mew essence, it embodies the hubris that doomed the old civilization, questioning if today's masters risk repeating history. Modern culture bears these scars in subtle ways. The Indigo League's badge quest mirrors Pokemopolis initiations, where adepts proved worthiness against spectral trials. Johto's ruins, like Burn Tower, pulse with similar ghosts, suggesting a global network of fallen cities. Even Professor Oak's research draws from these lore drops, his ancient texts hinting at timelines from billions of years ago, Arceus's creation myth bleeding into human Pokemon genesis. As the ruins collapse in a cascade of sand and echoes, Ash pockets a shard of that glowing crystal, a talisman linking past to present. It gleams under starlight, promising revelations yet untold. These ancient civilizations remind us the Pokémon world isn't a playground of endless battles. It's a tapestry woven from war, worship, and wary alliance, where every thunderbolt carries the weight of millennia. And as the waves lap at the orange shores once more, the call of new horizons beckons, across seas to uncharted lands, where the GS Bull's secrets might finally unravel. That story awaits in Chapter 12, crossing the threshold to Johto, where ancient echoes give way to golden spires and shadows that stretch even further back. Those colossal shadows of Gengar and Alakazam, entombed beneath the sands of Pokemopolis for millennia, whisper of a world where Pokémon and humans once danced in harmony under forgotten stars. Yet that ancient bond pulses forward into Ash's own time, urging him onward from the sun-baked ruins toward horizons yet unexplored. With the mysteries of the GS Bull still clutched in Professor Ivy's care back on Valencia Island, and the Orange League badge gleaming as a hard-won trophy, our trio, Ash, Misty and Brock, set sail from the archipelago's turquoise waves, their hearts pulling them north across the sea. The bow of their ferry slices through mist-shrouded waters as land emerges, not the rugged cliffs of Kanto, but gentle hills cloaked in cherry blossoms, drifting like pink snow. This is Johto, a region where the air carries the faint chime of distant temple bells, and the paths wind through bamboo groves that sway like silent guardians. Episode 83 marks the pivot, the moment the production team at OLM breathes new life into the series with Johto Journeys, a visual renaissance that feels like stepping from a vibrant sketchbook into a scroll painting unfurled by master artisans. Gone are some of the jittery lines and bold primary hues of early Kanto escapades, replaced by smoother contours and palettes drawn from ink-wash traditions, soft lavenders at dusk, emerald greens that deepen in shadowed forests, and golds that catch the light on rippling ponds. The animators, honing their craft after 2 years of weekly broadcasts since that explosive premiere on April 1st, 1997, layer in subtler gradients, letting sunlight filter through leaves with a dappled realism that invites you to linger. Backgrounds swell with intricate details, thatched roofs curling with moss, stone lanterns weathered by centuries, rivers reflecting overhanging willows. It's a deliberate evolution, mirroring how the games themselves matured from red and blue's pixel grids to gold and silver's fluid sprites, but the anime elevates it into something poetic, a canvas where every frame hums with quiet reverence. Ash leaps ashore first, Pikachu scampering at his heels, their boots crunching on pebble-strewn beaches that curve toward New Barktown. And here, the true herald of this shift rings out, the New Barktown theme, a melody that unfurls like morning mist over a tranquil harbour, composed with piano keys that cascade gently, evoking the pluck of a koto strung with silk. It weaves in flute whispers and subtle string swells, trading the electric guitar riffs and upbeat brass of Pallet Town's fanfare for something profoundly traditional. No pounding drums to chase adventure, instead a serene elegance that cradles the soul, hinting at Johto's roots in folklore and festivals, where Pokémon aren't just battlers, but spirits woven into the land's rhythm. Listen close as the notes rise. That opening motif, delicate and ascending, paints Professor Elm's lab not as a sterile hub of Pokeballs, but a wooden haven nestled among wildflowers, where Cyndaquil curls in embryonic flames, Totodile snaps with playful mischief, and Chikorita's leaf sways like a talisman. This theme doesn't propel you forward, it invites you to breathe, to savour the threshold crossed. It's the production's nod to a more mature aesthetic, drawing from ukiyo-e woodblock prints and haiku brevity, where beauty lies in transience, blossoms falling, seasons turning, journeys beginning anew. In Johto Journeys, spanning 41 episodes from late 1999 into 2000, this soundscape sets a template, lulling viewers into a world where elegance tempers the chaos of gym battles and Team Rocket blasts. But beneath this refined veneer stirs a seismic expansion of the Pokémon world itself, the dawn of the second generation. Ash arrives just as Elm entrusts him with a mission tied to the enigmatic GS Ball, now pulsing with secrets that echo those prehistoric relics from Pokemopolis. Chikorita joins the fray early, its grassy resilience a fresh counter to Kanto's fiery Charizard dreams, while Totodile's aquatic antics splash new life into Misty's watery affections. Brock's eyes light up at the breeders' markets, teeming with Slugma's molten glow and Miltank's pastoral charm. These newcomers aren't mere palette swaps, they herald the type chart's grand unveiling, dark and steel, slicing through the old order like shadows eclipsing ghosts. Psychic might tempered by nocturnal cunning, and fairy absent but steel's gleam forging alliances once impossible. Picture the ripples, a Steelix coiling through caves with unyielding armour that laughs at ground quakes. Houndoom's dark inferno, melting ice barriers that once felled dragons. Battles evolve from straightforward clashes into chess matches of elemental nuance, where a Scyther's blades now falter against sudden fire bursts from Quilava, and Umbreon's rings pulse with eerie resilience under moonlight. The anime savours this, stretching showdowns across episodes where strategies unfold like unfolding kimonos. Ash's Pikachu zapped into retreat by a Magnemite's electric kin, forcing him to adapt with Bayleaf's vine whips that ensnare foes in verdant traps. Production schedules stretch to accommodate these layers, cells multiplying as animators captured the sheen on Skarmory's feathers or the ethereal trail of Espeon's tail, all while the core trio matures subtly. Misty's Togepi hatches into a symbol of nurturing. Brock's foraging turns gourmet amid Johto's rice fields. Team Rocket, ever the comedic foil, stumbles into this new paradigm with glee. Jessie's Wobbuffet bouncing unpredictably. James's wheezing, belching smokescreens laced with steel-type grit. Their schemes in Goldenrod's glittering gymnasiums clash against Whitney's Miltank marathons, where Ash learns humility anew, that eternal 10-year-old optimist grinding through attrition rather than raw power. Yet Johto's lore deepens the stakes. Whispers of the legendary beasts, Raiku's thunderous prowls, Entei's volcanic roars, Suicuni's purifying gales, tie back to those ancient cataclysms 2,000 years prior, when cosmic forces reshaped the continents. The GS Ball's glow hints at Lugia stirring in the Whirl Islands, a guardian whose silhouette foreshadows movies, blending seamlessly into the broadcast flow. As Ash treks these mist-veiled trails, the visual poetry intensifies. Autumn leaves, carpeting paths to Violet City, where Faulkner's Pidgeot soars on thermals painted in amber hues. The series' evolution mirrors your own drift into slumber, each frame a brushstroke lulling the mind, each new Pokémon a dream fragment expanding the elemental tapestry. Production notes from the era reveal overtime glow in the studios, artists infusing personal touches, a lantern festival's glow inspired by real Kyoto nights, bamboo forests rustling with wind samples from rural Honshu. It's this alchemy that makes Johto Journeys not just a sequel, but a threshold to timeless grace. And as our heroes press deeper into the heart of this land, drawn by rumours of spectral dances and moonlit towers, they arrive at a city where every pagoda and shrine embodies elegance refined to perfection. The elegance of Ecruteak City awaits, its ghosts and guardians ready to unveil secrets that will haunt your dreams in the sweetest way. As the serene strains of the New Barktown theme fade into memory, Ash and his companions crest a hill overlooking Ecruteak City, where wooden pagodas pierce the evening fog like ancient sentinels, their curved roofs whispering of traditions unbroken for centuries. This is Johto at its most refined, a place where every lantern-lit street and rustling bamboo grove hums with quiet reverence, pulling you deeper into a world that feels timeless. Reconnect stands as the undisputed spiritual core of the region, its twin towers rising like the pillars of creation itself, one scorched and brooding, the other tall and luminous. The burned tower, known in hushed tones as Matasu no 2, looms as a jagged scar against the skyline, its blackened timbers a monument to calamity and rebirth. Legends etched into the city's very stones tell of a harmony shattered 150 years ago when flames erupted from within, devouring the structure in a night of unrelenting fury. Some say it was a bolt from the heavens, others a wrathful spirit unleashed. Whatever the spark, the phoenix Ho-Oh, guardian of the skies, abandoned its perch in rage, fleeing into the clouds as the legendary beasts, Raikou, Entei and Suicune, burst forth in panic, thundering across Johto's plains. Yet from those ashes rose the Tin Tower, or Bell Tower as it's sometimes called, rebuilt with painstaking devotion to summon back the balance. Its bronze bells toll at dawn and dusk, their deep resonances said to call Ho-Oh from the ether, a shimmering rainbow trailing in its wake. These towers aren't mere landmarks. They're the beating heart of Johto's mythology, twin shrines embodying the eternal dance between destruction and renewal, fire and water, sky and storm. Pilgrims still trek here from distant shores, leaving offerings of rice and incense, their footsteps echoing the rituals of old. And woven into this tapestry is Lugia, the enigmatic guardian of the seas, whose colossal wings stir tempests across the waves. In Reconnect's shadowed archives, sages murmur of prophecies linking this diving behemoth to the tower's lore. A silver dragon once said to coil at the burned tower's base, counterpart to Ho-Oh's fiery ascent. Lugia's dominion stretches far beyond Johto's coasts, tying directly to whispers from the Orange Islands, that liminal chain of atolls where ash first brushed against the divine. There, amid turquoise lagoons and forgotten ruins, elders spoke of a chosen trainer who would calm the seas when Lugia rose, preventing the islands from sinking into chaos. That very prophecy pulses through the GS Ball's enigma, the mysterious orb Ash carried from the orange gym leaders, its glow hinting at Lugia's awakening. In the anime's Johto journeys, this connection unfolds like a silk scroll unrolling. Ash arrives amid lantern festivals, the air thick with cherry blossoms and the rhythmic clack of gaiter sandals from the kimono girls, ethereal dancers whose performances honour the beasts. He climbs the burned tower's crumbling stairs, flashlight cutting through spectral mists, only to unleash the legendary trio in a blaze of lightning, fire and frost. Morty, the ghost-type gym leader with eyes that pierce illusions, guides him through veils of haunter and ghastly, revealing scrolls that bind Reconnect's fate to Lugia's oceanic vigil. The Tin Tower's ascent tests Ash's spirit, wind howling prophecies of harmony restored, Ho-Oh's silhouette blessing the worthy. What elevates this beyond adventure is Johto's embrace of Shinto-inspired reverence, transforming Pokémon from battlers into kami, spirits inhabiting every leaf and wave. The towers evoke torii gates and shrine paths, where humans tread lightly, seeking communion rather than conquest. Ash doesn't storm these heights as a conqueror. He becomes a vessel for lore, his Pikachu sparks mingling with otherworldly glows, echoing animistic beliefs where nature's fury demands respect. Episodes linger on the fog-draped rituals, the sages' chants rising like mist, deepening the world's religious undercurrents in ways Kanto's bustling ports never could. Johto whispers that true mastery lies not in badges, but in understanding the Guardian's pact, Lugia calming the depths as Ho-Oh ignites the firmament, their absence a wound on the land. This elegance seeps into every frame. The rustle of silk robes, the scent of smouldering cedar from tower braziers, the distant crash of waves Lugia commands. It grounds the series in a profound spirituality, where myths aren't backstory, but living forces shaping Ash's path. As he descends from these sacred spires, medal in hand yet humbled, the road winds toward Goldenrod's glittering sprawl, where Team Rocket's Goldenrod scheme is already unfurling in the shadows, poised to shatter the fragile peace with schemes bolder than ever. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. As the echoes of Lugia's divine call fade from the heights of the Tin Tower, Ash and his companions press onward through Johto's verdant paths, drawn toward the gleaming spires of Goldenrod City, where the hum of modern ambition pulses like a heartbeat beneath the region's timeless grace. There, towering over the bustling streets, stands the radio tower, a colossal beacon of communication that broadcasts news, battles, and dreams across the land, its antennas slicing the sky like silver veins. But in the shadowed underbelly of this symbol of progress, Team Rocket hatches their most audacious scheme yet, a full-scale takeover that transforms the tower into their personal fortress of folly. Picture the chaos unfolding in those fateful episodes, around the 165th mark of the original run. Jessie, James, and Meowth, ever the persistent pests, infiltrate the tower disguised as staff, their motto blasting over the airwaves as they seize control floor by floor. Alarms wail, elevators grind to a halt, and the city's Pokémon Center becomes a makeshift war room for Ash's counter-strike. Yet this isn't mere slapstick villainy, it's a symphony of deception, with rocket grunts swarming like locusts, their boss Giovanni pulling strings from afar via video feed, his Persian lounging indifferently at his side. What elevates this arc beyond the usual send-offs is the radio tower itself becoming a stage for revelation. With the airways under their command, Team Rocket hijacks the programming, airing a series of self-aggrandizing broadcasts that unwittingly peel back the layers of their origins. These are the infamous radio drama episodes, 3 captivating vignettes known as Meowth's Party, crafted originally for Japanese airwaves and only partially glimpsed in Western dubs, their full emotional depth lost in translation. Tune in, as they say, to the first act. Jessie's tale, spun across the frequencies like a melancholic ballad. We hear of her childhood in the impoverished streets of Snowpoint City, scraping by in foster care, her dreams of stardom leading her to nursing school. There she excels amid ridicule, her fiery spirit clashing with the drudgery of bedpans and potions, only to abandon it all for the allure of showbiz. The glamour fades into nursing again, then a biker gang's rough camaraderie, each failure forging her into the diva who blasts off with theatrical flair. Her voice cracks over the static, revealing a girl who craved family above all, her Arbok's loyalty the closest she's come. Then James takes the mic, his posh accent dripping with wistful nostalgia. Born into the wealthy Fujiwara clan, surrounded by butlers and sprawling estates, he fled an arranged marriage to a nightmare of a fiancée, her teeth like daggers in his memory. He joins a travelling circus, masters Pokémon showmanship with his Growly at his heel, but betrayal scatters him to Team Rocket's ranks. These airings aren't just filler, they humanise him, showing a gentle soul who collects rare bottle caps, not for greed, but for the quiet joy they spark. And Meowth, the star of these broadcasts, delivers his origin in a raw, streetwise monologue that tugs at the heartstrings. Abandoned as a kitten in Hollywood's Undercity, he falls for a glamorous Meowsy, teaching himself human speech through sheer will, trading alley scraps for lessons in elocution. Meowth, that's right, becomes his defiant cry, but rejection shatters him, sending him slinking to Giovanni's organisation. His dream of being more than a Pokémon, of walking upright in a world that sees him as beast, echoes through the tower's speakers, a poignant cry amid the comedy. These radio dramas, episodes 162 through 164 in the Japanese count, were meant to deepen the trio's lore, airing as radio plays with full voice acting and sound design that painted vivid pictures without visuals. Western localizations skimmed them, dubbing only snippets or skipping the introspective beats, robbing audiences of the antagonist's tragic poetry. Imagine drifting off to Meowth's gravelly narration, the crackle of static mimicking a late-night confessional, layers of sympathy wrapped in villainy. Yet here's the quiet genius of the original anime. Team Rocket isn't cartoon evil. They're the moral compass in disguise, their schemes punctuating Ash's triumphs with reminders of failure's sting. During the tower siege, they hesitate at innocence' pleas, their backstories flashing in fleeting compassion. James weeps for lost Growly. Jessie shields a child from debris. Meowth translates for a trapped Pokémon. His translator skills a bridge between worlds. They blast off, sure, but return with motto renewed. Their persistence a mirror to Ash's own unyielding spirit. In Goldenrod's glittering chaos, as Ash storms the summit and Pikachu's thunder shatters their control, the trio plummets once more, but not before the tower's fall exposes their hidden kindness. These episodes 165 to 174, blend high-stakes action with heartfelt flashbacks, proving the villain's depth makes the heroes shine brighter. No power-scaling escalations here, just relatable rags to riches reversals that ground Johto's elegance in human frailty. Their schemes falter, Giovanni's mask of approval cracks, and the airways return to normalcy, but the echoes of those dramas linger, inviting us to see Jessie, James and Meowth not as foes, but as flawed dreamers chasing the same mastery Ash pursues. This layered antagonism, rare in kids' shows, underscores why the original series resonates deeper than its blasts suggest. As the dust settles over Goldenrod and Ash claims another badge on the horizon, whispers of ancient trials and draconic guardians await in the Dragon's Den and the final badges, where Johto's deepest secrets guard the path to true power. As the static from Team Rocket's botched radio tower takeover crackles into silence across Johto's airwaves, Ash pushes eastward through mist-shrouded mountains, his path converging on Blackthorn City, where the air grows thick with the primal scent of scales and storm winds. This rugged stronghold, perched on the edge of jagged cliffs, has long been synonymous with dragon-type Pokémon, those ancient behemoths whispered about in Johto's oldest scrolls as guardians of raw, untamed power. Claire, the gym leader of Blackthorn, embodies that ferocity like no other. Tall and unyielding, with her flowing cape snapping in the perpetual gales, she commands respect, not just through her Dragonair's hypnotic grace, or her Kingdra's abyssal fury, but through the weight of her lineage. Descended from a clan of dragon tamers whose roots stretch back centuries, Claire doesn't hand out badges to just anyone. She demands proof of a trainer's soul, a resonance with the dragon's wild essence that can't be faked with clever tactics alone. In the original anime, her introduction marks a pinnacle of Johto's escalating intensity, where battles transcend mere sport and delve into tests of character, echoing the region's deeper mythological undercurrents. You can feel the shift as Ash approaches the gym, its cavernous facade carved into the mountainside, like the maw of some slumbering leviathan. Inside, the air hums with latent energy, pools of steaming water reflecting the flicker of torchlight on iridescent scales. Claire's dragons move with a serpentine elegance, their eyes gleaming with an intelligence that pierces straight through you, sizing up worthiness before a single move is made. Ash unleashes Pikachu's thunderbolts and Totodile's frenzied water guns, but it's his Dragonite, no. Wait, he doesn't have one yet. Instead, he borrows the power of his team in a grueling clash that leaves the gym floor scorched and slick. He emerges victorious, yet Claire withholds the rising badge, her voice cutting like a dragon claw. True mastery of dragons requires more than victory. You must face the heart of our holy land. That holy land is the Dragon's Den, a sacred cavern network hidden beneath Blackthorn's peaks. Revered as the Dragon Holy Land, where the type's purest bloodlines have nested since time immemorial. Legends etched into the dripping stalactites speak of rituals dating back over 1,000 years, when Johto's first dragon masters forged pacts with the primordial worms to protect the region from cataclysm. To enter is to step into a realm of echoing roars and bioluminescent glows, where the waters run deep and black, swirling with the shadows of unseen behemoths. Pilgrims, only those deemed worthy by Claire, must navigate trials that test not brute strength, but harmony, offering sacred rice balls, inscribed with ancient runes, reciting oaths to the dragon spirits, and proving unyielding resolve against illusions conjured from the den's misty depths. Ash ventures in alone, the chill seeping into his bones as torchlight fades, replaced by the ethereal pulse of dragonair coils gliding through submerged tunnels. A colossal dragonair emerges, its pearl orb casting hypnotic waves that dredge up visions of failure, of badges lost and dreams shattered. But Ash stands firm, his voice steady amid the rising whirlpool, declaring his unbreakable bond with his Pokémon. The dragon relents, bestowing the badge of rising upon him, not as a trophy, but as a seal of initiation into dragon lore's guarded secrets. This sequence, drawn from episodes around the 250th mark, captures the original anime's genius for blending high-stakes action with profound ritual, reminding us why Johto feels like a living tapestry of forgotten myths, far richer than the streamlined arcs of later seasons. With the 8th and final badge secured, Ash's gaze turns to the Silver Conference, the Johto League's glittering crescendo on the horizon. Camped under starlit skies near the World Cup's distant echoes, he reflects on the journey, from Newbark's gentle dawn to Blackthorn's thunderous trials, knowing every step has forged him closer to mastery. Professor Oak's voice crackles over the Pokegear then, summoning a familiar blaze from the Charisific Valley. Charizard touches down in a whirlwind of flames and wing beats, that stubborn fire lizard who once ditched Ash for stronger foes, now returning as the ultimate weapon for the League ahead. Their reunion sparks with tension and triumph, Charizard's roar shaking the treetops, a promise of aerial dominance, tempered by hard-won loyalty. Oak explains it all in that folksy tone we cherish. Charizard's rigorous training has honed its seismic toss and flamethrower to perfection, ready to soar into the conference battles. Ash grins, fist-bumping Pikachu, as the group, Misty teasing about burnt meals, Brock plotting victory feasts, prepares for the ferry to the plateau. These final preparations pulse with nostalgia. The original series filler moments stretched into heartfelt vignettes that let bonds deepen amid Johto's misty trails. Yet even as Charizard's shadow eclipses the moon, whispers of old rivalries stir in the wind, hinting at the fierce showdowns awaiting at the Silver Conference. Up next, Chapter 16, the Silver Conference rivalry unveils the clashes that will test Ash like never before. With the rising badge finally claimed from Claire's unyielding grip in Blackthorn City, after navigating the mist-shrouded Dragon Holy Land and its ancient rituals that tested not just Pokémon, but the very soul of a trainer, Ash Ketchum turned his gaze toward the ultimate proving ground of Johto. The Silver Conference loomed on the horizon, a sprawling stadium carved into the mountainside of Silvertown, where the whirl of spotlights pierced the evening sky and the roar of thousands echoed like thunder rolling through the valleys. This was no ordinary tournament, it was the crescendo of a rivalry that had simmered for 5 full years, ever since two boys from Pallet Town first crossed paths under Professor Oak's watchful eye. Gary Oak, the prodigy grandson of the professor himself, had always carried himself like Giotto royalty. Sleek convertible, cheerleaders chanting his name, a cascade of badges pinned to his jacket like medals from a war already won. Back in Kanto, he'd mocked Ash as the kid who showed up late to his own starter Pokémon, fumbling with a Pikachu that refused to even enter its Pokeball. Their first clash at the Indigo Plateau had been a slaughter, Gary's Eevee dancing circles around Ash's raw determination, leaving scars that festered through every gym battle, every Team Rocket ambush, every quiet night by the campfire where Ash stared at the stars and vowed revenge. But Giotto changed things. Gary shed his arrogance like a snakeskin, trading his flashy entourage for a deeper bond with his Pokémon, his team evolving not just in power, but in unbreakable loyalty. Umbreon, the sleek black evolution born from the moonlit nights of their shared struggles. Blastoise, the armoured behemoth upgraded from the shell that once shrugged off Thunderbolt like raindrops. This wasn't rivalry anymore, it was destiny colliding. As the conference unfolded under a canopy of fluttering banners, Ash carved his path through the brackets, his Charizards scorching foes from the skies, his Snorlax bulldozing barriers with earth-shaking snores turned to seismic fury. Misty and Brock cheered from the stands, their voices lost in the frenzy, while Pikachu sparked with anticipation on Ash's shoulder. Then came the announcement that hushed the arena. Ash Ketchum versus Gary Oak in the top 16. The crowd erupted, but for those two, time slowed to the deliberate rhythm of heartbeats. They stepped onto the field, the grass crisp underfoot, the air thick with the scent of ozone from prior battles. No taunts this time, just nods, eyes locked, 5 years of fire distilled into this moment. Gary struck first, unleashing Blastoise with a command that cut through the din like a blade. The massive turtle materialized in a surge of water, cannons primed, hydro pumps coiling like serpents, ready to strike. Ash countered with Snorlax, the behemoth awakening from its pokeball with a yawn that rattled the barriers. What followed was a masterclass in tactics, the kind of chess match where every move anticipated the next three. Blastoise's Skull Bash charged like a freight train, but Snorlax's Body Slam met it head-on, the collision sending tremors through the stadium, cracks spiderwebbing the platform. Gary switched seamlessly to Umbreon, its rings glowing with psychic precision, a confused ray weaving illusions that left Snorlax flailing at shadows. Ash recalled his giant, sending in Kingler, whose Crabhammer cleaved the air, only for Umbreon's quick attack to dart in, landing blows with surgical speed. The genius unfolded layer by layer. Gary predicted Ash's every pivot. When Pikachu entered, Umbreon's feint attack bypassed the speed, slamming into the electric mouse before Thunderbolt could arc. Ash adapted, pulling Pikachu for Charizard, whose wing attack scattered the darkness. But Gary had foreseen that too, Blastoise returning with a rapid spin that shredded flames mid-air and flung Charizard tumbling. Type advantages weren't just exploited, they were orchestrated symphonies. Ash's Tailo swooped in for aerial dominance, only to meet Blastoise's Protect bubble, buying Gary time to reposition Umbreon for a devastating takedown. No cheap shots, no plot armor miracles, just pure strategy. Switches timed to the heartbeat, abilities chained like links in a chain. Ash's Pikachu sealed a key exchange, with Iron Tail shattering Umbreon's defenses, but Gary's composure never cracked, his Blastoise unleashing Hydro Pump in a torrent that washed away momentum, forcing Ash to dig deep. In the end, Gary's team edged out the victory, Blastoise's final Hydro Cannon overwhelming Ash's last stand. But this wasn't defeat, it was catharsis. The two clasped hands amid the cheers, Gary admitting what 5 years had taught him. Ash had pushed him to become better, to see Pokémon not as tools for glory, but as family forged in the fires of rivalry. Tears welled, words unspoken hung heavy, Pallet Town boys, forever changed. As the conference dust settled, a new shadow fell over the horizon. In the aftermath, amid the departing crowds, a trainer from distant lands stepped forward, his blaziken bursting forth in a blaze of flames that danced like Hun's volcanic sunsets. Torchic no more, this fully evolved firefighter kicked up embers that lit the path ahead, its cry echoing promises of uncharted regions, tropical storms, and contests that would redefine mastery. Johto's elegant towers faded behind, signalling the close of an era where badges were won through heart, not hype. That parting glance toward home, though, as Ash slung his pack and Pikachu scampered ahead. Whispers of farewells yet to come. It pulls us back to the very spark of it all in Chapter 17, the departure from Pallet Town, where one overslept morning ignited everything you'll want to unravel next. As the echoes of Ash's thunderous clash with Gary faded from the Silver Conference arena, that tactical masterpiece of strategy and growth, marking the end of their 5-year rivalry, Ash didn't claim the trophy he'd chased across Kanto and Johto. Instead, the road curved back home, to Pallet Town, the sleepy starting line where a 10-year-old boy first chased his impossible dream. This return wasn't a victory lap. It was a quiet unraveling, the first true fracture in the unbreakable trio that had defined the original series. Picture the rolling green hills of Pallet Town under a vast unchanging sky, the same one that watched Pikachu spark to life in defiance on day one. Ash arrives, battered badges in hand, his belt lighter than his heart. Professor Oak greets him not with fanfare, but with a professor's gentle wisdom, laying out the hard truth. Ash's Pokémon need rest, training, a chance to evolve beyond the endless road. One by one, they step into those familiar Pokeballs: Bulbasaur, who chose the wilds of Cerulean Cape over leagues; Squirtle, reclaiming his squad from Misty's sisters; Charizard, too proud and powerful for further chasing; even the newcomers, like Heracross and Bayleaf, forged in Johto's misty trials. All of them handed over to the lab's vast pastures, where they'd graze under Oak's watchful eye. All except Pikachu, that eternal spark, perched defiant on Ash's shoulder, yellow fur gleaming like a promise unbroken. This reset hits like a thunderbolt to the chest. Ash strips himself bare, back to basics. Just a boy, his Pikachu, and an empty belt. No more bloated team of rented powerhouses, no more stacking evolutions like trophies. It's a narrative gut punch, forcing Ash to confront what the journey had become, a grind of near misses, from Indigo Plateau's heartbreak to Silver Mountain's unresolved fire. Leaving them behind echoes the game's spirit but twists it raw in the anime. Those Pokémon aren't tools, they're family, scarred by the same failures. Bulbasaur's quiet nod as it vanishes into the ranch. Charizard's lingering flame in the sunset. Each farewell whispers that growth demands sacrifice. Ash isn't starting over as a rookie. He's reborn wiser, unburdened, ready for horizons beyond Johto's golden spires. But the real ache blooms when Misty and Brock turn away. For the first time, the trio splinters. Misty, the fiery water gym leader who ditched her sister's gym for this wandering life, stands by the riverbank, her Psyduck waddling obliviously at her feet. She's chased Ash across regions, her Togepi hatched from an egg that symbolized fragile new beginnings. Now evolved into a bond as deep as the ocean currents she commands. Brock, the rock-steady breeder whose heart pulled him from Pewter's Forge toward every Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny, packs his spices and dreams of a Pokémon Doctor legacy. Their departures aren't scripted as explosive drama, no tear-streaked monologues or orchestral swells. They're understated, laced with that original series restraint. A shared sunset over Pallet promises to meet again at future leagues, Pikachu's tail flicking in quiet solidarity. Feel the weight of those moments. Misty's final words linger like mist on Viridian Forest. She returns to Cerulean, reclaiming her role as gym leader, but changed, tougher. Her bike long since pulverized by Pikachu's earliest shocks, now a metaphor for paths diverged. Brock heads west, toward Hoenn's whispers, his onyx coiled in memory. They've walked every dusty trail, from Kanto's boulder-strewn gyms to Johto's elegant towers, sharing campfires where Brock's stews warmed the night and Misty's temper sparked the laughs. This goodbye marks the end of an innocence, the original crew, forged in 1997's premiere hype, now scattering like leaves in autumn winds. It's the emotional core the series dared to bear, reminding us that true masters let go. These final episodes, stretching from the Silver Conference fallout through Palette's poignant close, unfold as a eulogy for something irreplaceable. The 1990s childhood, captured in cell-shaded wonder. Back when Pokémon wasn't a global empire of 28 seasons and power-scaled megas, but a Thursday night ritual on TV Tokyo, syndicated dreams for kids trading cards in playgrounds, untouched by smartphones. Ash's reset mirrors our own, handing over the toys, the starter Pokémon that defined Saturday mornings, to the lab of memory. The Orange Isle's serene fillers, Johto's mythical guardians like Lugia rising from sea prophecies, all culminate here in slice-of-life serenity. Ash fishing with Mimey, racing through town on a Tauros stampede, Pikachu napping under familiar oaks. Nostalgia seeps from every frame, the hand-drawn forests rustling with hidden lore, Team Rocket's bumbling farewells laced with pathos, Jesse and James blasting off one last time, with Meowth's Brooklyn growl fading into stars. No high-stakes Eternatus crises or dimensional rifts. Just the quiet poetry of growth amid prehistoric echoes, from 2,000-year-old Mewtwo origins to the burned tower's ancient flames. These arcs eulogize an era when adventure meant exploration over escalation, friendship over fusions, a 10-year-old's optimism untainted by perpetual resets. Ash boards the ferry alone with Pikachu, the horizon swallowing Pallet Town, but the screen holds on that fading shoreline, inviting us to linger in the glow of what was. And as that ship sails toward unknown waters, carrying Ash lighter, yet heavier, with lessons etched in every badge, we're left pondering the threads that wove this original tapestry so tightly. What endures when the companions depart and the team resets? Join me next in Chapter 18, the legacy of the original series, where we unravel the timeless echoes still rippling through Pokemon's vast world today. As Ash lingers in the quiet fields of Pallet Town, his backpack lighter than ever, with just Pikachu at his side. That reset feels like more than a fresh start. It's the curtain call on the Kanto and Johto journeys. Those sprawling years from 1997 to 2002 that captured something raw and irreplaceable in the Pokémon world. This original era, with its hand-drawn frames flickering across 4x3 television screens, breathed a soul into the anime that high-definition spectacles today can only chase in shadows. Think back to those early episodes where the wind rustled through Viridian Forest, not as a backdrop for flashy moves, but as a living veil hiding ancient secrets. Ash's path wound through misty caves and sun-dappled meadows, each step uncovering lore woven from the fabric of the world itself. Kanto wasn't just gyms and badges. It was the echo of cosmic origins, whispers of Pokémon born from events billions of years in the making, 2 million years of primal clashes, and legends from 2,000 years past when Mewtwo's shadowed birth in the first movie stirred ethical tempests. Johto layered on elegance with Ecritake's burned towers summoning Ho-Oh and Lugia, guardians tied to prophecies that rippled back to the Orange Isle's forgotten trials. This wasn't lore dumped in exposition. It unfolded in serene filler arcs, like beachside contests or ruins guarded by mythical sentinels, where the camera lingered on rippling water and distant silhouettes, inviting you to lose yourself in the hush. That soul stemmed from restraint. Ash stayed 10, eternally optimistic, his Pikachu a sassy partner who refused Pokeballs not for rebellion's sake, but to forge unbreakable bonds. Misty's fiery temper clashed with Brock's steady warmth. Their trio stumbling through slice-of-life detours, cooking mishaps in mountain passes, festivals under Johto's starry skies that grounded the grand quests. Team Rocket's bumbling heists added comic heart, their radio tower takeover in Goldenrod revealing backstories of lost dreams, humanizing villains in a way later series' bombastic threats never quite match. Battles peaked in tactical poetry, like the Silver Conference showdown with Gary, where strategy trumped raw power. Charizard's roar echoing 5 years of rivalry without the gloss of modern animation's particle effects. Modern sequels, crisp in 16:9 glory, trade that intimacy for spectacle. High-definition clarity sharpens every thunderbolt and hyperbeam, but it flattens the mystery. Regions blur into arenas for escalating crises. Eternatus rampages in Galar, Megas and Gigas dominating Sinnoh's Polish, where world-building bows to fan service and rapid cuts. The originals let silence speak, a Pokemon's gentle nuzzle after defeat, the soft glow of a badge earned in torchlit gyms. Johto journeys stretched 41 episodes of wandering elegance, Goldenrod's bustling streets alive with side stories that peeled back layers of history, from Dragon's Den rituals to Lugia's oceanic vigil. No rush to the next league, just exploration that felt endless, personal. And here's where the magic lingers for nights like this, the enduring pull of lore for sleep. Those 4x3 frames, squat and cozy like a childhood blanket, cradle the mind. The aspect ratio hugs the horizon just right, forests framing Ash's silhouette without stretching into widescreen voids. Static backgrounds hum with subtle life, leaves swaying in unseen breezes, distant mountains veiled in haze. Narration drifts over it all, unpacking timelines that span from primordial chaos to Ash's present. 2,000 years of Lugia's dives, 1,000 years of Tin Tower flames, without urgency. It's ambient reverie, fillers like Orange Isle's watery trials, becoming lullabies of discovery. Muse ethereal flights, a soft thread through cloned shadows and ethical whispers. Pop this on as the world fades and Kanto's soul wraps around you, timeless because it never demanded your full attention. It earned your dreams. What made this era a masterpiece of world building was its quiet ambition. Games birthed Kanto and Johto, but the anime expanded them into tapestries. Palette's sleepy origins linking to Indigo Plateau's roar. Blackthorn's dragons guarding holy lands that pulsed with ritual depth. Non-linear threads, like movies slotting between episodes, wove prehistoric myths into Ash's steps. Jirachi's wishes echoing 2,000 years prior, even as companion shows like Pocket Monsters Encore replayed gems for devoted fans. No power creep diluted the wonder. Friendship reigned, Pokémon as equals in forests that smelled of pine and possibility. Yet that departure from Pallet Town seals the legacy's warmth. Ash, unburdened, steps forward with Pikachu's spark. The original series whispering that every reset holds the old world's echo. In a sea of sequels chasing shine, Kanto and Johto endure as the hearthfire, comforting, profound, eternally alive in 4x3 nostalgia. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.